folks. My name is Ethan Rathjen. Today I am here to present to you an idea I have for a short film. This short film, just to kind of give you a basic understanding of it, it's going to be based on the short story by Jack London, and the short story is titled To Build a Fire. Now, this, to give you kind of a little bit of a background into the short story, that the film will be based off of. So, To Build a Fire by Jack London, it was originally published in 1902, and it's realistic fiction. So the events in the story, although based off true events that very, very well could have happened and have happened in the past, it is fiction. So to kind of put this into a film type mindset, the genre for to Build a Fire would be more along the lines of an adventure. So if you wanted to combine in your mind an adventure type film, realistic fiction, that would be the type of film we are going for. And just to give you some insight into my mindset, my ideas for this film, the basic storyline is you have a man, and he's traveling the wilderness in Alaska, and he's on the Yukon Trail. He gets off the Yukon Trail to take another trail, and on this trail in the short story is when you find and you see his struggle to survive, and you see in him, it describes his cold, how he starts to lose feeling in his fingers, how he starts to lose feeling in his feet, how he goes about trying to move his hands, move his body to try and stay warm. Meanwhile, you have a dog, a wild dog. As far as we know in the short story, I don't think it gives any indication that the dog is his, but that it's a wild dog that is friendly to people, obviously, out on the trails. It ends up following him, and in the process of following him, you see this bond. So you have a bond formed between the main character traveling the trail, struggling to survive, and his bond with this dog. In fact, at one point in the short story, you see the dog and the man are on a frozen riverbed, I believe, and on this frozen riverbed you have the dog, and as it's described in the short film, you don't know the man doesn't know where exactly is going to be the very shallow ice, and where's the deep ice. So he's trying to avoid that at all costs. And in fact, at one point, he uses the dog to attempt to see where the shallow ice is. So as the man struggles and continues on his journey to survive in these very, very harsh conditions, we read in the story that the main character is going. His goal is to find these boys in this camp, and no doubt that at this camp that he will find shelter and safety. However, he never ends up reaching this camp because in the cold, he begins to, it describes his thought process as he knows he is beginning to get tired, the telltale signs that he's going to fall asleep and probably, freeze to death. And that does eventually happen, and his thought, and we see his thought process as he thinks of that this is a more peaceful way to die than many other ways where you lose all feeling and you restfully fall asleep, which is a morbid thought, no doubt, but one that is real. So for this film, I would see it kind of along the lines of, for those who have watched any movie about a man and huskies, dogs on the Yukon Trail. Very common genre, very, very well known. However, in this case, it wouldn't be a sled dog or anything like that. It's more of a man on a journey and a dog following him, and both of them trying to survive. The man ends up dying, and at the very end of the book, you see the dog realizes that he has died, and he runs along the trail knowing where ultimately he can find some safety and shelter at a camp. So that's kind of the basic storyline, guideline. I see this film working together kind of, if you've ever watched Running Wild with Bear Grylls, the television show. So you have Bear Grylls, and he takes another person along with him, and they survive in the wilderness. However, this would be more along the lines of a standard survival type movie, where instead, so if you could picture Bear Grylls with a dog, and there's no camera crew, and this is purely real life, and they're both in a cold environment where frostbite is setting in, and then they have to attempt to build a fire to survive. That would be the idea of the film. It would be very real to life, very real to human experience, what we all experience, even in the most uncomfortable states, such as those when we're experiencing frostbite, for instance. So just to close this up, I just want to thank you guys for listening. Thank you for bearing with me as I explain this. This is definitely my vision, my goal for how this film would play out. So I appreciate your time, and God bless you.